Hey Christian.
What up, Chris?
Hey everybody. We're back in the attic. It's been quite an adventure. It's been quite I would say a month, over a month.
I think it's been more than a month. But this is what, episode
This is 19.
19.
So we have one more episode and then the season will conclude and we'll be back with the season 2. As we said, that's going to be bigger, better than ever. There's going to be a visual element. We're going to have a set.
It's gonna be sick.
Donkey Kong
So
may or
what-
may not be there.
What have we missed in this past month? I want to say Happy Halloween, Happy Thanksgiving, and
Well, we had a Halloween special.
Happy Feliz Navidad. No.
That's coming up.
Oh, okay. I
We're
digress.
gonna do the next episode. The finale of season 1 is gonna be our big Christmas special. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, but
We
this
gotta do it
episode,
big.
This episode is special as well.
Very, very special. Yeah.
You know, kind of like, I would say a big reason as to why we took so long to record again. I mean, obviously a lot of other things happened, but this is definitely a big one, and we wanted to process everything before getting on the mic again. And I think that both you and I, it's safe to say that we are okay enough to talk about
this.
So yeah, let the people know.
Yeah. If you've been following us for quite some time, have been watching Crisscross Media, have found us through Maker Studios way back in the day, or Polaris. You may remember that at some point there were more members of this Crisscross team. I had my sibling Dano has been on the channel, and we also had our buddy Joe. Joe was a larger than life presence. He was in a lot of our videos. At a time where when I moved out to California, he moved out with me, and him and I were kind of spearheading the channel while you were still in Chicago. And he was very, very involved with the Polaris community. He was a co-host on Daily Bites, Multiplayer, Friend Zone, and a multitude of other things. He was great friends with a lot of different people in the space. We hung out with the Game Grumps, Dodger, a lot of larger names. He was part of the Scare to Care charity runs. Great benefit for kids being raised in families that unfortunately are dealing with parents that is going through cancer treatment or just gone through cancer. Long story short, and something I have to say, all realness, we did take some time to record this. I think that there were maybe 2 times we ended up hanging out where we were planning to record this and it just wasn't ready.
Yeah. There's definitely, because everything happened, and we met up, and we just couldn't record. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
I don't mean to cut you off, but long story short,
Yeah, we
I
gotta
got to say it. Joe passed away on October 18th, unexpectedly too. He was. I always say that he was Superman. He really, really was. He was larger than life. He was one of the strongest dudes I ever met.
One of the biggest dudes I've ever met.
Biggest,
in my life.
6'7". He was tower.
Big
He's
in
a
everything.
tower. He's a tree. He was. You felt, in a weird way, you always felt safe in his presence. In a weird way, you always felt stronger than you were around him. And when I was, for those who don't know, when I moved out to California, I moved out with him, and I lived with him for a good period of time. And in the time that I was living with him and spending every moment of my life with him, I felt unstoppable. And it was all because of him. That's the energy that he always brought into the room. And it didn't matter where we were or what kind of people we were hanging out with. We could have been in a room full of nuns. Joe would make everybody laugh and could break the ice so easy. And Joe also just had a knack for being extremely creative.
Yeah.
And I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I
you're
realized
good,
that I
man.
was kind
That's
of
what we're
talking
here,
about
we're here
in
to
circles, and I didn't mention that.
I gotta say, just to break ice a little bit, but we are recording in a new room here. We got a new setup, so
Yeah.
if there's anything that sounds a little off, that may be why. And like I mentioned earlier, it took us some time to process everything and to talk about, Joe, and because Chris said it was unexpected, and I found out when I found out was, thanks to Chris who told me, um, I've lost people in my life already, the people that I shouldn't have lost. I've lost cousins, second cousins, grandparents, but when you lose someone that's like your age group, someone that you grew up with or you went to school with, and then you worked with, created with, and spent time with,
Lived with.
it hits you in a completely
Yeah.
different way. So I don't know if you people out there listening right now have experienced this. If you haven't, I hope that just by us talking about it, it maybe prepares you a little bit. Nothing can prepare you for when you get that text or when you get that call, of that person passing away. And when I got that, my heart sank.
Yeah.
And that's coming from, like, I love Joe. I have a lot of good. I don't have anything but good memories.
Yeah.
With him. And it just sucks that, like, we can't see him anymore. We can't be with him anymore. But all we can do is kind of like just remember the good times and try to envision that as much as it was. So, if you're not cutting me off, this episode is going to be all over the place because though we say we're good to talk about it, I'm sure it's still fresh in our minds, still fresh in our hearts, and probably I'll always be.
Yeah.
So this is going to be one of those episodes where we're just spitballing
Off the cuff.
Off the cuff. We're just talking, two friends here sitting down, and what's the word? That's it's not reminiscing. It's or mourning, but there's a word. It's just two of us out here, just reliving old memories.
Old memories of good old Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe. That's the thing about Joe. He had a lot of isms. You could fill a book with Joe-isms,
Right.
some of which I can't even say on this podcast. But that was a great thing about him is that he was.
He would have been a good guest on the Attic.
He would have been
He would have been an
good.
amazing guest.
A mutual friend of ours. His name's Billy. Billy and him were friends since they were like 5. Like old friends. And his Facebook post as a tribute to Joe when he passed, one thing he said was, I always believed he could have been a stand-up comedian. I think Joe,
100%.
he kind of had like this like Chris Farley energy to him.
Yes.
He was
Definitely reminded me of Chris Farley.
very big Chris Farley energy. Gosh, it's so funny going into this podcast. I'm like, okay, these are the points I want to hit, and now I'm like, what direction do I want to go? I found out the day I found out, I was in shock, and it was a mixture of sadness and just mind racing, tears, and crying and reaching out to people. And Joe was one of those types of people that was very old school. He was very against social media.
Yeah.
So he didn't really keep tabs with a lot of people like we do normally. He was very much an old school guy. So I had to break the news to a lot of people.
That's the
which
worst.
sucked. And but it allowed me to reconnect with a lot of people that I met through Joe.
Yeah.
And also people that we just met together. And we, I think we can say this. We held a little private gathering in Joe's honor on the Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
With a lot of old Polaris maker folk, and it was really cool because at one point, several points while we were preparing the evening, it didn't really feel like Joe. It didn't feel like I was inviting these people or I was planning like the different foods and things like that. It felt like Joe was.
Right.
You know, because it was done in such a way where, you know, we got all of his little like favorite foods. He loved pita. He's always carbing up. He loved carbs. Oh, Chris, you want to hit up the carb train? You know, loved carbs. He loved hummus.
I will say this: I was eating because you guys were talking about, you know, when you guys were going back, and I was just listening, you know, in the background, eating, drawing, writing.
That day,
and
right?
drinking,
yeah.
Yes, that day, and like, so I felt like Joe was there. Like I
That's
felt
the
like
thing.
he was just chilling with me, and like, cause I was like, and if he's out there, like, if you can hear this, Joe, you know, if you can hear this, like, I just felt like I was there sipping with him. Like he was just in the bathroom, he was just gonna come back, but like I was just there having a good time. Like he was there, and hopefully he was there, and hopefully he's here with us right now, and he's still having a good time. You know, and our honorary first guest on the ATTICC podcast. So, you know, again, R.I.P. to Joe, and much love, man. It was a good time that night.
It was a good time that night, and you know, that's the thing. It's like those people that were there. You know, we were talking about this earlier off camera. That there's some people that maybe you don't keep in touch with constantly, but then you connect with them, and there's like the instant connection.
Yeah.
And you know, Joe, when I lived with him, he was all about always gathering people together, always having, you know, people over and sharing food and drink and stories. And that night was very much that. And it felt very much like a thing that Joe wanted to put together. And that's why I felt like, you know, in a way, it almost felt like he threw that party for himself, which was great.
Yeah.
And you know, I told this story a couple times. This is the first time we are talking about this to our Crisscross community. You know, I guess we're breaking the news to all of you. But the day that I found out, and I know you've heard this story 3 or 4 or 5, maybe more, 5 times. I apologize, but
man.
You know, I was very distraught when I found out, and I had found out not the day of his passing, but about 5 days after.
And that just goes to show how off the grid he was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like for someone as close, like I'm not as close, but you know, we knew who he was, and in today's day and age, like if I were to go tomorrow, you'd know tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because I'm on everything. Like, hey, this guy didn't go on Instagram today.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, of course.
You know.
And where was it? Oh yeah, so
You know,
I found out, and you know, I'm going on Facebook constantly, looking at different people's posts, and if anybody was posting anything, and
You don't believe it. You're refreshing. You're rereading.
right.
Yeah.
And that day you were coming over because we were supposed to record.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, like, I don't know if we're going to record today, but I'm going to go out and get some steaks, and I'm going to get some cake. Because Joe and we would go to this specific store, and we would get steaks, and we would get a cake. Now, when I say cake, excuse me, I'm not crying. I'm actually catching my breath. This
what kind
dude,
of cake are you talking
well,
about?
he would, yeah, juicy.
We all like cake here.
Okay, yeah. Joe liked cake.
Yeah, I'm sure you
No. So Joe would literally buy like a family-sized birthday cake, sit on the couch in shorts, and just sit there and eat the entire thing.
Oh my god.
He was a tank. He would sit there and eat an entire cake, and ironically, we have a cake making video with him, the Hulk cake he did with Daniel.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm gonna link a playlist. I'm gonna call it A Cup of Joe.
Ooh, I like that.
And it's going to have all the Joe videos that he did on Crisscross. Again, if you don't know who Joe is, I think this is going to be a good way to just kind of get an idea of who he was. The thing that makes me the saddest is that him and I were on a bunch. By the way, I'm going to go back to the whole Ralph's story.
Oh,
I'm segueing. But all the stuff we did with Polaris is gone. Like, it doesn't exist anymore. Because when Disney shut the doors, like
It's just all with.
I'm assuming they're all unlisted on YouTube, because like I liked some of those videos and they're not public, but I can still access some of them. But I don't know if you guys remember producer Jack, any of the old Polaris viewers. He produced several of the shows that I mentioned earlier. He was at the memorial that we were at.
Cool guy.
And such a nice. Jack's amazing. Shout out to producer Jack. He has a drive of all those footage, all those shows, and he linked me to a couple. If you hear squeaking, by the way, it's my dog. She got a new squeaky toy. It's not a clown. But anyway, I don't know the legality of who owns those clips or what, if Disney owns them. I don't know, but at some point I'd like to get some of those snipped out because he's so funny in those. And those shows were all done unscripted. So whatever's on there is Joe.
It's Joe 100%.
It's Joe 100%. And my God, he stole the show every time he was on it. He was a guest. But anyway, so I'm at the parking lot about to buy the steaks and these cakes.
Story, yeah.
And, I'm so bummed, and I keep going to this Facebook thread, and I open it up, and it's a collage of photos of him, and I see his face. And I look at it, and I'll just react how I did. I looked at it, and I did a deep breath. I'm like, Joe, like that, right? And I'm like tearing up, I have one of my moments. And before I can finish the word Joe, the biggest bird shit I've ever seen in my entire life. You'd think it was from a flying human. Hit my windshield. Now, granted, I didn't see a bird in the sky. I wasn't near a tree. It was nothing. And
it was Superman.
It was Superman. It was. I take it.
Drop a super shit.
I take it as if there was a way for Joe to communicate from the afterlife, if there even is an afterlife. I don't pretend to think that I know what is beyond, nor do I. I do know that, and I've said this every single time I tell this story, that when we grieve, we look for signs and answers and messages.
Right.
However, the comedic timing of this and the sheer size of this shit that I saw on my windshield was perfect Joe humor. And
that was his way of saying, "Hey, man,
cut that shit out.
Lighten up.
Cut that shit out. Stop crying over me and celebrate me.
Cake.
And get that damn cake and enjoy it with Mata."
Yeah.
And that's, that obviously, did I stop crying after? No, I had my moments, but that helped me in a weird way, and I was very grateful that bird, or whatever the hell that thing was, shat in my windshield because. Whether it was Joe or not, it reminded me of him, and it reminded me that that's the type of person he was. He was always laughing, he was always smiling, he was always joking.
Yeah, even in a shitty situation, you could find some comedy in it, right?
Of course, yeah.
And you can still go on with your day and go get your food and live it up,
It's funny because you and I both say this, my favorite video we've ever recorded on Crisscross Media. Go ahead. Yeah, talk about it.
No, yeah, because right when you mentioned that you're going to put the playlist of all the videos and stuff, one of my favorite, if not my favorite video series we did was the Jurassic Park series that we did. And Joe played the
Muldoon.
Evil guy, right?
The hunter?
The hunter, And,
so well.
Yeah, he had the shotgun in his hand. That angle of when we filmed him from the bottom up, he just looks like this gigantic figure. And
also, we didn't tell him, but he came fully dressed.
Yeah.
And full in character, had an Australian accent.
He didn't even step out of character the whole day. He came in like Heath Ledger, bro. He was ready, method acting and everything.
Oh, for sure.
And that was it was at the time where I had come back and now it was all three of us. Because you said there was that time where it was you and I, and then you and Joe, and then boom, it was the meeting of the Triforce all over again, and just that period of creating content was so fun.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Because we were a trio. We started off as a trio, so to go and have a trio again, it was oh, this is cool, And Dano was our trio for the longest time.
Yeah.
But that series, just the way that you wrote it up, you did the whole screenplay. We went over
storyboarded it.
Storyboarded it. Yeah. We had the shots and
the props.
I felt like I looked so sexy back then. I was I don't know. I had the perfect tan color, bro. Looking back, I'm like, man, I wish I could go back in time. You know,
it was a
great.
That
time.
was a great summer, and I'm so grateful. There's so many memories. I mean, like him and I, when we first moved out, we had nothing but a mattress and like 2 blankets, and that was it. But
we slept on the blankets.
What? No. We had 2 mattresses and 2 blankets. Like, and I remember like. There were the blow-up mattresses, so like you blow them up, you think everything's great, you wake up, you're on the floor.
That's gonna be me soon, bro. I think I broke my freaking pull-out couch.
Oh no!
I'm gonna have to sleep on the air mattress again.
Well, take a note from Joe, because I'll never forget one night, like I think the AC wasn't working or something like that.
Oh.
And he's like on the floor prematurely, like the thing just went like it was leaking air, and he's like. I just remember, because I'm sleeping we're like in the middle of his living room, right? Not even in bedrooms, and there was like a laptop between us. I forget the hell what we were watching, and he goes, "Fuck this," and he crumpled it up like he was crumpling like a Whopper wrapper.
What, the laptop?
No,
oh damn,
the mattress. I just remember throwing it. He goes, "I'll throw it out in the morning," and I'm like,
my God,
cool,
bro.
No, but so many good Joe memories. Like, he had Joe-isms. He had a lot of creations. Like, there's a thing to this day. Granted, I'm sure thousands of people have made this, but he had this thing called the Hulk juice.
I was just about to ask you, is there a thing that, like, he drank?
Oh, yeah.
A lot. Like, his signature drink, his go-to drink. What is that drink?
I don't know. Okay, I don't know if it was his go-to drink, but no. When I was with him, he loved whiskey and Coke.
Yeah, can't go wrong.
Coke and whiskey, but then he also.
So is that what like Hulk juice is? Is it a juice?
No,
is it an alcoholic drink?
Hulk juice was like it's a hot day and you need something to get you going, to keep you hydrated. It's like the cure-all for everything. Even if you have like a hangover, you ate too much, you just need something to wake up. Excuse me.
For la cruda.
You get a Red Bull.
Okay.
And just blue Gatorade. Now you're getting the hydration. The electrolytes, and then you're getting the energy and the vitamins from the Red Bull. You mix the two, it's blue and yellow. You get kind of a green. So he'd be like, "Yo,
you know we gotta do this, right?
We gotta make some Hulk juice." Yeah, we should make a video on it.
Just a little TikTok or a little reel.
Something. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys better look out for that. YouTube Shorts,
Hulk.
Reels, all that. Links down below.
I'm sure someone's made that, or people do that. Like they have those Rockstar recoveries, which are like they have electrolytes. Those are great. Mm-hmm. But I'll say this: Joe was always ahead of his time. There's videos. The way his mind worked, like he had such a good like old school comedy, like SNL mindset, but also like really good for short humor, like one-off jokes. Like a lot of the stuff that we were posting back in the day, I was like, Joe, this is really funny, but like the way the algorithm is, this is never gonna take. He's this is recorded, whatever.
He would have been a star right now.
But like that's the thing, like the things he was making back then were like TikTok material,
right?
And a lot of it we posted. Like there's one where, have you seen Back to the Future?
The original?
Yeah, way back. At the end, he's like, Marty's like, "Well, Doc, don't we have to back up? We need to hit 66 miles per hour, whatever it is." Right. And then he puts the shades on. He goes, "Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads." Yeah. So like, Joe had this idea. He's like, "I want to dress up as Doc Brown, and I want to walk into the room." And I say, "Chris, we gotta go, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Joe, I can't go. I'm not wearing any pants." And it cuts down to like my bare legs. Do you remember this sketch?
No.
It's super quick. It's like 30 seconds. And then he goes, "Pants, where we're going, we don't need pants." And he puts the glasses down. And it was like, I was like, all right, let's just film it. And dude, like, again, go to the Cup of Joe playlist. You'll see he's in head to toe. Doc Brown.
That as a reel.
I should.
Yeah.
Also, I just want to say a shout out to my good friend Nate Meritt, an incredible artist. He's worked in Hollywood and in several different capacities. I met him through works several years ago. He's an incredible person, incredible human. The image that you see on the screen right now, the image that's on the thumbnail, he drew. It's of Joe as Superman.
Wow, this picture's amazing.
And I'm so grateful for it. And this is really how I always envisioned Joe. The first video we ever did with him, he was showing off. Again, he always came
decked and ready to
decked.
go.
I was like, Joe, I want to do an intro video to introduce you to the channel.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. I'm like, we could just go to like the parking lot and make it fun. And he had this whole idea that he really wanted to showcase his love for Superman. And he had a Superman shirt, which he always wore with that hoodie. He had a Superman watch, Superman socks. I think he was wearing Superman underwear. He passed sock check.
He wasn't no lame fool, huh?
No, dude.
Down as fool.
He was a down as super fool. That was the kind of guy Joe was. And that was also just like the wonderful thing when we were all sharing stories that night when we all got together. Everyone echoed the same thing. Yeah. He was, no matter what, they could always count on him to be on set. Always count on him to bring his A game. And
never said no.
Never said no. And the one
thing for the cause
I loved about Joe, and one of my favorite photos with him I showed you, is anywhere we went, he would make the time to talk to everybody and make sure that A, he said hello, and B, he asked how they were doing. Yeah. And, you know, when we worked at Maker, at Disney, like, we would talk, it didn't matter. Like, you know, I'm not trying to make anybody look bad, but some people just go there, they go on set, and they leave. They do their work, and they go. Clock in, clock out. He would make sure to know every technician, every person at a desk, every person that would clean up crew. Like, he was, and that was like what I learned from him, is breaking out of my shell and just getting used to talking to people, because everybody has a story and everybody has something cool about them. And that was the thing I think one of my favorite memories about Joe is just what a people person he was, and how his life really was making other people laugh and happy.
It really was, like, you know, I don't really think I haven't told a memory yet of Joe, and I don't think I have told this story, but, you know, I met Joe in high school. Yeah, so that was 2005.
Yeah.
But the thing with me is that, you know, I was coming off of a lot of injuries. Ever since 6th grade, I've mentioned before, I've broken a lot of bones, right? So, you know, it took me out of wrestling, it took me out of basketball, it took me out of baseball. And going into my freshman year, you know, a lot of people, because I had no idea. I was going to a private high school, and I was going to public grade school the whole time, so it was new to me. And a lot of the people that were mentoring us before we signed up our classes, we met our counselors and all that. I remember that we went to go choose our classes, and one thing they told us was that, you know, it's going to be very beneficial for you to do extracurricular activities. So I was finally healthy. I had, you know, no broken bones. I was healed, and I had the opportunity to sign up for football. Now, I had never played football in my life. To this day, I'm super weak. I'm not very strong, but I knew that everyone made the football team, and I wanted to try something new.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I'm like, if I'm going to meet people and I'm going to have fun, this is how I'm going to do it. So, you know, at the time, I had just gotten my braces. I had just gotten contacts, so I felt confident, and I went to summer school, summer camp for football, and that's actually where I met Joe initially. And we were on the same, you know, they put us together. We're some of the tallest, biggest, chunkiest dudes on the field, you know, and right away we kicked it off real well. And you know, he was always the one that helped me. You know, he had played a little bit, but we were big dudes, but we were soft. You know, we were soft-hearted. We weren't mean. We weren't evil.
Yeah,
you know, yeah. So a lot of the guys there were they lifted, they were strong, they were mean, and they picked on us. You know, they would knock us down. They'd throw us around like rag dolls. But with Joe and I, he always had my back. I always had his back. And that transitioned into what ended up, you know, being into wrestling. And when we were in wrestling together, because I was a little bit overweight, I believe the weight class was 215 or something, I was a pound or two over that, so I had to wrestle heavyweight. And Joe was the only heavyweight in the class. So, he was my sparring partner. and we would always train together. We'd push each other.
And he was like, if you were 215, he was like 240, right? Like,
nah, this dude had to be like 260, bro.
Yeah,
like 260, 280, and he had height on me, you know. And then his brother was a state champion, so like he already had, you know, the notoriety and definitely the, what do you call it? The pressure.
Yeah.
To be just like his brother, to wrestle and to be a state champion. So, but you know, it's funny you mentioned he always wanted to reach out to no matter who it was.
Yeah.
And like all throughout my high school career, you know, no one knew like that my dad was like a janitor at the school. I mean, you knew, but I'm saying like majority of people didn't know. I had aunts and uncles that worked there. You know, I had a whole gang of family that was working there, and they were custodians and maintenance people, right? But I remember like it was our senior year, and it was the first year that they like put my dad in the yearbook with all my other uncles and stuff. And I had one guy on the football team who was like, Mata, like, you does your uncle work here, or your cousins work here? And I was like, nah, like that's my dad, like that's my uncle. Like, what? Like, we didn't know that. And why didn't you ever tell us? I'm like, well, you guys never asked. Like, you guys never asked, you know, what my dad did or whatever. Reason I mention that is that dating back to our freshman year, like, I remember meeting his parents, like, at the football games or, like...
Joe's?
Yeah. And they were super nice.
Yeah, they are.
But, like, Joe would he'd hang out with me. Like, we'd go out to the back room and he'd meet, like, my family. You know, and because I would just chill in the back, you know, and see my dad, my aunts, my uncles, and he'd be back there, you know, busting out his Spanish, like, because he took Spanish and he always spoke in, like, he, like, prided himself that he, like, knew how to speak Spanish.
Very good Spanish.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, in the Hulk video, the Hulk cake video, he just breaks out into Spanish at one point.
Yeah, he was really good at it.
Very good Spanish.
But you know why? It's because he hung out with like in school, he would talk to the janitors and like, those are my uncles, those are my aunts. And like after practice, they're in the locker rooms. You know, they're cleaning. Like I bump into my dad after practice all the time because that's the hallway that he did.
Yeah.
And like so didn't matter who you were cleaning toilets or you're the father in our school. Like he spoke with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's just like one thing that I remember greatly, that he was just a big ball of joy.
Yeah.
And he put me through hell in wrestling. A lot of the times I was under him, you know, he pinned me a lot, but you know, he had a big heart.
Let's make no mistake. As big of a heart, he was also a hard ass too. I mean, he would give you hell sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, but that was part of his charm, and you know, you always knew that if he was giving you a hard time, it was coming from a place of love. It was never. He was never a mean-spirited person. Even when he was angry, he'd always come back to like, oh, you know, maybe I was a little hard on that guy. You know, a couple memories I have of him. One of my favorite memories, I always laugh when I think about this. When I first moved out to California, there was like a grace period of like a month or two before he came out and lived here full time. Because him and I were coming out, like we were kind of bouncing back and forth to different places, doing like month to month here and there. This guy, I remember like messaging my mom, and I'm like, hey, you know, and I'm here in California, across the country, like, hey, what are you guys up to today? Oh, we're at Benihana with Joe. I'm like, what? My family.
Yeah, your family.
And then she sends me a photo. You know, at Benihana, they take a photo of your family. He's sitting there like he's the patriarch of the family. And my family, my dad, my mom, my brothers and sisters are all around him like...
like our long-lost brother.
I was like, I got replaced. But I mean, he... You know, that's just... He was that, like... He knew all my siblings, you know? And, like, he remembered their birthdays. You remember... Like... I remember my brother Dano. Everyone knows Dano, knows Chris Cross. I forget. It was 2015. So Dano was turning. Gosh, what year is it?
7.
Carry this to 7. Yeah. Doing math in my head, in my La cabeza.
Yeah, I don't have 15 fingers, so I don't know how to do the multiplication.
Start using my toes. See? But like my dad was helping my sister move during this time. Like, my sister was moving. I forget where she was at the time, and my dad couldn't be there the day of for my brother's birthday. And Joe went out with me and got like decorations, cake, toys, everything. Like, wanted to make sure that Dano had a good birthday. And he was there with me to make sure that happened. And I was like, like,
who does
didn't have to do that, Okay, going back, let's go back in the time machine way back. Freshman year, high school. First day, first class. Obviously, you're a freshman, you're super scared, you don't know anybody. Somehow Joe knew everybody already.
It was at summer camp.
It was at summer camp. But he also knew like all the teachers because his mom worked at another school.
Yeah.
And I think you're in our computer class. Were you there?
You like all his family
and all his family were already there.
Gone there.
You're right.
I may have been in that computer class.
Okay, so I'll never forget this. He sat across. So like I don't know if you remember the computer stations like
in the library?
Long table. No, not in the library. There was a computer room.
Where can you like really quickly?
I don't remember where. It was a dark room. I don't remember exactly where the building was. Dark room. There was like computers all around the room. And then in the middle, there was like a huge island of computers on both sides as well. And then there was like a projector, like one of those pull-down projector thingies on the opposite end. And then the teacher she was on her desk was near the board.
I think I know where the computer room was. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I just remember he sat across from me. And everyone's kind of filing in. I'm looking around like, oh my God, look at these people. And he just slams the books on the desk. And he goes, all right, people. We're going to be with each other for 4 years, so let's not be assholes. And I remember thinking like, yeah, this is high school. Yeah. And then the teacher laughed, and I was like, what? And then all three of us were in the same gym class. Yeah. And I've told this story 1,000 times.
Oh my God.
But
back of the pack every time.
We're in the gym. First off, he was the only person that showered.
Yes.
He would come out ass out,
naked, with his towel that barely
covered it.
Man in a little coat.
And he'd be like, why don't you take a picture? Yeah, that guy in a little coat. Yeah. He'd be like, here, take a picture.
It'll last longer.
Yeah, but I remember, I'll never forget. Like, I didn't want to shower. Like, I didn't feel comfortable. Yeah. And like, I would just spray Axe, and he'd be like, "What are you spraying there?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm spraying Axe." You know what? I'm like, what? You know what you're going to smell like? I'm like, what? You're going to smell like Axe and ass. I'm like, oh, thanks.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, bro.
There's me with an Axe can. Like, should I spray it?
Yeah, should I spray it?
Like, nah, fuck it. I'm just going to smell like ass instead. But that's the thing, dude. Like, in high school, like, I don't know. Like, I was in sports and stuff. Like, kids showered, like, in 7th and 8th grade. But, like, I always felt like I don't want to shower in front of everybody, Like, now I don't care. Like I told you, I've been at the gym one day. I was just like, I'm like, man, you know what? Screw it. I got like 80-year-olds like out here, like, oh, let me flaunt what I got. You know what I'm saying? So like, boom, I'll just go in there and shower, come out butt naked. It don't even matter. And like, you know how we talk about
do you shake off like a dog?
Nah, bro. I just let it ride, Ali. But like, you know how we were mentioning how like there's certain things you do or whatever you experience and like it reminds you of people. Mm-hmm. And you told me one of yours the other day I was here. And you're like, oh, every time I do this, I remember this. And I'm like, aha. Anyways.
Yeah.
But like, whenever I have to shower like that.
You think of Joe?
I think of Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, what would Joe do?
What would Joe do?
Joe would just go in there and...
Oh, he wouldn't care.
He wouldn't care. He's like, I'm going to be clean. I'm going to be the freshest dude. And he was. Like, he'd come out of the shower, super fresh. He'd get his deodorant on, his cologne, and he'd always dress to the 9s, to the 10s. And he
would clean up good.
Yeah, he may have like, he was the best looking guy no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like he cleaned up good. He cleaned up good.
He really, really did. Yeah, I have so many good memories with this guy, and like you were saying, there's a lot of things, especially now that I look back on and I'm like, wow, I do these things to this day because of Joe. or I say this thing to this day because of Joe. My nicknames for my mom, that text, good night every single night, and the nickname I have for my dad came from Joe. I call my mom Mama Bear. I call my dad Papa Elf because of Joe.
Yeah.
You know, and you know what? Let DK play a little in Joe's honor.
Okay. I think that's what he was doing this for. How's it going? Joe's are here. Everybody, let out a cheer.
Hey! Thanks, DK.
Thanks, DK. R.I.P. Okay, he was slowing it down at the end.
Yeah, he's
like,
getting
okay,
good.
He knew how to do it. How do you make it over here, by the way? Did you bring him with you?
Yeah. So,
or did they just ship him over here to you?
He actually helped carry some boxes in.
Okay, you put him to work.
What's weird is he carried his own cage and then walked in and locked it.
Oh God!
I was like,
he's trained now. He knows.
Yeah, we have a new location. You kind of mentioned it at the top of the episode. Just stay tuned because next season is going to be insane. And I know I say it every week, but we are working on crisscross content.
Yes, sir.
Things are coming. We have shorts that I still have to edit and things to come. Even if we are waiting for season 2 of The Attic, Crisscross Media is going to be going full blast on all cylinders. I think I put in our Discord, which again, if you're not following our Discord, hit our, what's it called, a lunchbox? Bento box? Hit our bento. It's going to have all of our links. Join us over there because we're having great conversations. I'm going to be a little bit more active on there, and I'm going to talk to you actually about automating that just a tad. I know you got some bells and whistles, man. You got.
I know a little thing or two about a thing or two.
Exactly, and I want to know what those things or two are.
Gotcha.
But yeah, just follow us because we're going to be really. I put on the Discord like we are awakening from our slumber. I don't remember exactly the wording, but basically we are coming out of our hibernation. We're gonna end the year strong. We're gonna celebrate the holidays and Christmas. As we do here on the channel, we might have a Crisscrossmas giveaway.
Get situated.
And then next year is going to be a great year for us. I think that this year was kind of getting back into it. I'm so happy that we launched this show. And again, I can't say enough how much I appreciate everybody. I know this is a little bit of a different episode, but I felt it was necessary to honor our great friend, our great brother, and our great a great entertainer. And Joe, I don't feel like I really had to say goodbye to him because I do feel his presence. I do, and I can't help but laugh every time I do something that reminds me of him, or I pass by something that reminds me of him. I was just thinking the other day because we just celebrated Thanksgiving. My first Thanksgiving away from family when I was out here in California, I celebrated with him, and we went to Disneyland. And there was a restaurant called the Big Thunder Ranch. It was me, myself, and my sister. And
have we been there?
We hadn't, but do you remember when we went to Disneyland? This was back in 2011.
World?
Disneyland,
okay.
It was in Frontierland. There was like a back area. Do you remember you and I, we watched, they had a sneak peek preview for Pirates of the Caribbean 4.
Yeah.
We went back there. So back there, there was a restaurant. Now it's all Galaxy's Edge.
Okay.
It's all Galaxy's Edge now. But long story short, it was like barbecue style where they just keep bringing trays of ribs and corn and stuff. So it's Thanksgiving, and we went to this restaurant for the sheer fact of we're going to eat a lot. We didn't want to cook; we just wanted to enjoy a big meal. And Joe's like, "I'm gonna go ham," and he requested, I forget what it was. I think it was like a banana bread pudding dessert. He ate the entire thing because he wanted to impress the waitress. Who at the time was just like, okay, cool. But he's like, but he was doing it as if it was like
it was the biggest turn on, right? It was Riz before Riz.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely.
Look at the Riz on this guy. He's just putting it all down.
Joe had Riz, man.
Yeah, he eat that banana pudding. What can he do to me? Fucking Joe.
Oh, jeez.
No, that's the thing. Like, yeah, like we wanted to dedicate this episode to him, but it's for sure not going to be the last time we talked about him.
No.
I would say it's like the first time we talked about him, but
No, we brought him up a couple times in the podcast.
but
actually.
you know, I'm glad that like we'll have the playlist here. We'll obviously mention it on Crisscross as well. I think we have to do that also. And then, you know, just kind of like not only reminisce the stuff we did with him, but then also just, you know, for a lot of the people that maybe don't know about Crisscross Media, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't, then now's the perfect time to jump in because that was like some of our best content. So if there's going to be any content that you like, it should be that.
It was a good time. It was a good era, and something I do plan to post on Crisscross is on top of the Cup of Joe playlist. I do want to do a little montage in his honor, and just show some of the highlights. I'm kind of teetering on whether or not I should wait to get all those other additional clips. But
we do a part 2.
You could do several parts, yeah.
You can do several parts. And to anyone listening out there that, you know, knew Joe, you know, leave a memory down below in the comments. And honestly, like, I know I mentioned it in another podcast and I said, like, you know, if anyone went to school with us or whatever, but I actually welcome it. Like, share this podcast, because, you know, as close as we were to him, there's other people that are just as close, if not closer, that maybe need a space, you know, to come out and speak with and talk about and just let their emotions out, because it's not easy it's not easy holding it in. You know, sometimes people can reach out and talk in person or through text or, you know, other people talk about it in the YouTube comment section. So,
and even if you didn't know him personally, you just watched him through our content, or you were a fan of his, you know, him on the different Maker Studio stuff. You know, share one of your favorite Joe memories.
And lastly, you know, on other side of the coin is maybe you have lost someone already. You know, that you were really close to, that's in your age group, that you may have gone to school with, and it just caught you off guard. Maybe you need a place to talk and share your story and let us know, you know, your good memories of your friends, families that you may have lost. So may they all rest in power. May they all rest in superpower. And, you know, especially on the Day of the Dead, like we celebrated that day, they will be there with you on special days, on every days, and, you know, they will live vicariously through us. So, and that's the beauty of life. Life keeps going. It's a circle of life. You know, it's now our turn to carry the mantle and keep moving forward and try to bring positivity in this world, as I'm sure Joe would have, you know, wanted us to do. So
I like that. Well, with that being said, I love you, Joe. I love you, Christian. Love everybody watching and listening to this. Thank you for watching this or listening to this very special episode.
I love you, DK.
And yeah, I love you too, DK. Very special episode of the Attic, the All Things Involving Crisscross podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode for our season finale and our Christmas holiday special.
Peace out.
Peace out.